I've been rereading C.S. Lewis's little book, The Weight and the Glory. In fact, my copy is old, yellowed, and marked up. I'm really finding things in this book that I never understood when I was 20 something years old and read it the first time. It really made no sense to me. The New Testament talks about glory a lot, and it really puts glory on us or future glory on us, but also it says we share in present glory. And Lewis says this is not about bright lights or halos or fame, and all those things seem repulsive to me, unless you begin to think of glory as something having to do with your relationship with God, perhaps even fame with God, and that our deepest longings. I mean, he gets into, we're going to talk about this in the next few little sessions I'm going to post on YouTube, but he talks about the time that we saw a sunset and it's so beautiful and we wish we could embrace it, and then it just goes away, and the nostalgia that we feel for times in our past, or good times with family, whatever. It's really a longing for God, and that the glory is the glory of God as it's upon us. He gets into talking about heaven, and I want to talk about heaven quite a little bit later on. But even the metaphors in the Bible can't be real. All they can be is somewhat suggestive of the glory that is going to be out there. But I have a story, and I've told this story a million times, so you probably have heard it before. But and it really is the story of me coming to the Lord in fullness. As a kid, I wanted this British sports car. It was probably 1959, 1960, and I saw an older guy driving down the street in a 1952 MG, if you know what those are. And I prayed that day that I could buy that car, that he would keep it long enough that I could buy it. Almost the same time, I got introduced to Psalm 37 through a youth pastor, and in it says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, He'll give you the desires of your heart." Well, the desire of my heart was that MG, so I kind of wrote that actually into my Bible. And I prayed that prayer every day, probably for 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. And an adult, I read Psalm 37 at least a couple times a week, sometimes daily, because it's become so dear to my heart. But what it's caused me to do is want to recreate the joy that I had, because what happened was, one day I saw this guy John driving down the road in a different car. And I was about 18 years old, and he had bought another car, and I was just kind of broken. It's like the Lord never answered my prayer. Then I found out that John saved the car for me. He had put it up on blocks in his mother's garage so that I could buy it. He had somehow heard that I wanted the car. And to me, this was like God thing. And it really, really cemented everything in my heart, in my relationship with the Lord. And then as I got to driving the car, it was like just driving a miracle. Everywhere I would go in the car, it's like it was all about the Lord. And as an adult, I've tried to recreate that. I want that glory. And so I spent a lot of time looking at what I call classic car porn, which is ads for cars that I've loved for sale. And I really am, as an older man, I'm able to go out and buy one all done up. And it would be fun to drive for probably a day or two. And knowing myself, that I would probably not do much with it after that. Had to have a pool table, don't play pool, all those kind of things. And yet I realized a few months ago, before getting back into Lewis's book, I realized what I'm really hungry for is that relationship with the Lord that I had through that experience. And then if I were to go and buy such a car, it would just turn into an idol. If at best it would be an idol. At worst, it would just be something that I regretted that I bought, because it could never satisfy the longing. Because the longing really is for what Lewis describes, the weight of glory, the title of his book. And so I'm going to talk about this book a few times and post it up here on YouTube, because I think it's important that we get into some of these things that are a little bit deeper than what we think of sometimes. And again, I'm thinking about this, I read something in the book, The Weight of Glory, this morning, and it said that that we're not just going to be ghosts when we go to heaven, that there's going to be an overflow of who we are, and we're going to find out who we really are. When we get there, and we hear things like, good, well done, good faithful servant, or we know him as he's known us, and that this is the glory that the Lord has for us, and you'll find it in nostalgia. you'll find it in these remembrances. You'll find it in the longing for a beautiful sunrise that goes away and turns into a bright day, and you miss those crisp moments in the morning, and you have this feeling in your heart that there's something more, and that really is the weight of glory. And I would suggest that you go out and pick up his little book. It's just a bunch of sermons, and very short. By the way, if this is meaningful to you at all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to build the thing up because I can get some better tools to work with, and hopefully put some things up that will bless you. And by the way, I've put a whole bunch of sermons up as YouTube videos, which you probably don't even want to watch, but you can listen to them for free on YouTube Music. They've turned into podcasts, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And I hope that they're helpful to you, because that's what I'm trying to be.